Please welcome General Manager, Business Applications, Brenda Bown.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here and talk to you about how we empower customers to innovate with business applications. And I hope that some of you were this morning at the keynote, where we talked a little bit about it. However, we will go deeper in this session on the great innovation that is coming with Dynamics 365. But first, let's talk about innovation. Innovation takes many forms today. And when technology is used to create new forms of reality, is digital innovation. Digital innovation is a very intentional strategy that is used by organizations to transform, and it requires creativity and growth mindset. But it also requires technology that is flexible and integrated. Our technology helps organizations digitally transform in 4 key areas: with your customers, your products, your operations, and your employees. It starts with the Microsoft Cloud and Microsoft Azure as the most trusted and scalable platform that our customers can grow without limits. And then with Microsoft 365, we deliver the world's leading productivity suite that enhances collaboration and creativity. Then with Dynamics 365, we deliver a full set of intelligent business applications that are integrated and extensible and enable your organization to digitally transform. And this is a pretty powerful set of technology that is available for our customers. And we're seeing the results across many industries, across financial services, healthcare, manufacturing, and retail. These are just some of the customers that are using the powerful Microsoft technology to create competitive advantage and drive business results. And one of those customers is 24-Hour Fitness. How 24-Hour Fitness differentiates in the marketplace is because of its personalized approach to member services. Alyssa talked a little bit about it earlier this morning, but what 24-Hour Fitness wanted to do was to reimagine the way that they were engaging with their members about their individual fitness goals. To do that, they used Dynamics 365 customer service with sales, and they connected marketing and sales data to really give members visibility into their individual fitness goals as well as how they could achieve them. Let's take a look.
We care about our guests that come into the club. We want them to be successful in their fitness journey. We have over 400 clubs, nearly 4 million members, and we're in 16 states. Our goal is to try to build a dynamic experience for each one of our guests, potential members, and our member base. You evolve or you shatter, so you have to keep up with the times, you have to keep up with what's relevant to people. And the only way that you become relevant in their lives is to be current and keep up with the technology. When a potential customer comes into our club, we enter them into our digital guest registry. They're entering all their information so we can understand and have a sincere conversation with them about their personal goals. Whether they're coming in for a life-changing event, whether they're interested in Group X classes, strength training, whatever it may be, that's really personalized content all about them. Then that data goes into Microsoft Dynamics 365. And then we know everything we need to know about them, their personal interests. And we're able to build out Adobe Audience Profile, a customer profile on them. Anytime you can have a personal dialogue and a relationship from the data we know with the technology that we have in hand with Microsoft and Adobe, that only enhances our messaging and our connection with the customer even more. I mean, that's how you gain that trust. That's how you gain a long-term commitment out of a potential member. The relationship we have with Microsoft and Adobe is completely, I think, unique. We're all in this together to try to build a relationship with our customers and improving their lives. Because we want them to be successful. We want them to be healthier in their fitness journey.
It is great to see the results that 24-Hour Fitness is achieving with Dynamics 365. Another one of our customers that is seeing tremendous business results is CohnReznick. CohnReznick is one of the largest public accounting firms in the United States, based out of New York City. They fundamentally wanted to improve their client services by increasing collaboration and productivity. So they use Dynamics 365 as a platform to create their CohnReznick Client Experience Platform. And to tell us a little bit more about that, I would like to welcome Dean Nelson, National Managing Partner of Technology and Digital Services at CohnReznick. Welcome, Dean.
Nice being here.
Thank you for coming to Orlando and joining us.
Glad to be here.
So, Dean, can you talk a little bit more about CohnReznick and your digital transformation vision?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the history of our firm is we were combined through a lot of local and regional acquisitions. And the biggest happened about 5-6 years ago. And realized that because those acquisitions took place and we didn't really take a step back to figure out how to have the right integration strategy, it was really hindering our growth. So the partnership looked to my team to come up with a new strategy for the overall firm. And being a technologist, we wanted to see how we could start to drive digital transformation as part of the overall strategy development. So we did the traditional software evaluation process after the strategy was developed, and it came down to Salesforce and Dynamics 365. And frankly, it was a pretty easy decision for us.
That's great to hear. We're certainly glad about that. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how technology has helped you achieve this vision, Microsoft technology?
Yeah, no problem. So prior to Dynamics 365, we did not have an integrated platform of any nature. We didn't have an enterprise-wide CRM. We had zero marketing automation. We had very limited information on our client base at the core, quite frankly. And so now that we've been live on Dynamics 365 for just about a year, and having everything automated from everyone has it on their mobile device, starting with that, which is a huge change, to actually having marketing automation where we can understand what the kind of impact our marketing programs are having with our clients and prospects, as well as how to drive certain activities from an industry perspective, all the way through, obviously, the pipeline development, understanding what's in our pipe, different stages of the sales process, and then finally, once that sale is closed, getting the actual matter or chargeable client code to developed so people can actually charge their time and expenses. All that's now automated, has greatly increased the efficiency of our firm, from first and foremost, but more importantly, from my perspective, being a partner in the organization, we have seen a significant uptick in our closed sales, not to mention our pipeline.
That's great to hear. And we talked about how you use the Dynamics 365 platform to create the client experience platform at CohnReznick. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how it has impacted the work that you do with your clients?
Yeah, most definitely. So at the core of our new strategy and at the digital transformation is to get significantly closer to our customers. We did a full customer segmentation analysis and understood that in terms of selling multiple services into our customers, we were extremely poor at it. And so one of the key attributes of our strategy in leveraging the Dynamics 365 platform is to really get much, much closer to our clients. So we established what we're calling a strategic account management program, where we actually bring multidisciplines into the table, do really deep research on that industry, as well as the sets of clients, both prospects and clients. And because of the platform, the power of the platform, we know so much more today than we ever did before about the industry, about that client, about who knows who in that organization because of the power of the integrated LinkedIn app. And it has, again, I hate to repeat myself, but it really has driven top-line revenue over and above our expectations. I mean, we have the ROI that we had developed prior to going live. We've exceeded that within the first 8 months.
That's great that you can see improved business results, and at the same time, you get to know your clients better.
Yeah, most definitely.
And finally, Dean, what's next for CohnReznick?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've been live now for about 12 months on integrated marketing and CRM. We're in the midst of implementing the back office as well as the integrated time and expense, that'll be going live in about 8 months. So then we'll have from basically lead to cash, everything will be fully integrated.
That's amazing to hear. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, Dean, and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
This type of digital innovation that CohnReznick and 24 Hour Fitness see is using the Microsoft technology, and it's getting noticed in the market. As you can see, we've had amazing momentum in the market, and we truly believe that this is a product of our differentiation. We differentiate with our modern and extensible business applications. We also differentiate with the ability to extract insights and provide recommendations and actions from all of your data. And as Satya mentioned this morning, we differentiate with an open platform upon which our customers and our partners can build. And we're not even close to being finished. These are just a few highlights from the last week when we announced our Microsoft Dynamics 365 AI and mixed reality offerings. We're very excited about what those offerings can bring to the market. But now it's time to talk about some product. And it's time to talk about the exciting wave of innovation and technology that is coming with Dynamics 365 in our Power Platform October release. And for that, I want to welcome Mike Ehrenberg on stage. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Brenda. So it's a great opportunity. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you today about all the innovation that we have coming with our October release. And I suspect people haven't necessarily caught all of it as it's scrolling by on the screen, but there's over 400 new capabilities across our products. And I thank you for taking the time to learn about what we're doing. It's great fun to see kind of what's going on with the product. Now, if you didn't catch it all in the scrolling list, we've published a 250-page release note document that goes into great detail about everything that's new. And I thought today, we could do the old-fashioned kind of keynote where we do a bunch of presentations and maybe run some demos. But I thought it'd be easier since we have the document that we'll just pass a copy out to everybody. And then we'll ask each of you to read a page, and we should get through the 250 pages pretty quickly. OK, maybe not. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. So you heard this morning from James about the sort of principles of our 4 digital feedback loops. And this is really the thing that's driving all of the investment, all the innovation that we're doing. And it's about working to create 4 outcomes for our customers. We want to help them engage their customers better. We want to help them empower their employees to work more effectively and more efficiently. We want to let them optimize their operations. And in the end, we want to get them to the point where they can actually transform the products and services that they're delivering. And we do this all through gathering data and then applying intelligence to that data and acting on it. The important thing to think about here is not that these are 4 separate models, but the real value comes when we can tie things together. So it's great when I can get an IoT signal from a device that lets me know that it needs service. It's better when I can tie that to a predictive maintenance model that tells me what the problem is likely to be. And so then I can send out the best technician for the job, and I can use the data in Dynamics to let me know what are the parts that that technician likely needs to have with them when they go. I can use Dynamics to help me optimize that whole service operation by controlling the scheduling so that I get the closest best technician to the work, and that I have a good plan for them for the day. I can gather the feedback from the customer on the service experience so that I know what I need to make different next time so that they can have an even better experience. And so the key here is not to think of these things as 4 separate processes, but very much 4 connected processes where we take the data, bring it together, apply intelligence to the combination, and then drive action. What we did this morning in James's session is focus on one customer and walk through that whole process of digital transformation. For us, this afternoon, the focus is on Dynamics 365. And Dynamics 365 is at the center of how we power those digital feedback loops. Dynamics is obviously a key source of the data in all these scenarios. What you're increasingly seeing this morning, what you're going to see this afternoon, is how we take the data from Dynamics and connect it to other interesting kinds of data, whether it's from IoT, whether it's from web signals, whether it's from Exchange, Office 365, LinkedIn, and how we take all of that data together and use both Dynamics 365 and Power Apps to let people take that next step of how do I act on the insight I get from that data. A big part of what we've done, and which you'll increasingly see as we talk about it today, is really this transformation around modern, unified, intelligent, and adaptable. So when we talk about modern, when we go to a customer today, it's highly unlikely that we walk in and they don't have something else deployed. So they've got typically one part of their business, which is the area where they want to start their digital transformation journey. And so we've oriented around the process areas of marketing, sales, service, operations, finance, talent, so that our customer can pick the one that lines up with what they want to transform and deploy and implement just that first. But to what I talked about earlier, that the key comes when we're able to bring everything together. We've also invested a lot in this idea of saying that these things are really unified, so that if I deploy 2 or 3 or 4 workloads, they work together. And you'll hear us talk about how we have processes that connect across these different workloads, and you'll see us demonstrate that. One of the most exciting things, and James sort of talked about it as the real fundamental change of moving from being reactive to being predictive. It's really harnessing our ability to take data and apply intelligence to it, so that we're really not just recording the work that our customers have done, we're helping them find what the next smartest action is for them to drive the best result in their business. And obviously, it's extremely important for us to get our products so that they can be completely adaptable to what each of our customers needs. And the capabilities of the Power Platform have really let us raise something we were always good at up to the next level. So let's dive in and talk about what's coming in the October release. And before we walk through the specific workloads, I really want to talk about 3 key themes that are driving investment across all of our products. And the first of those is cloud excellence. When our customers deploy Dynamics to run part of their business, they're betting their business on that. The people that make the choices are betting their career. And we know that, and we know that we need products that are going to give them the reliability, the availability, the performance, the scale, the serviceability that they need to drive and run their business day in and day out. And so we've redoubled our efforts in that area. We're making great progress every day. We'll talk about a few of those things today, but it's something where we continue to invest. The second thing is integration, and I think it's important to think about integration really in 2 directions. The first is across the Dynamics 365 workloads. And you'll see demonstrations of that today. We'll talk about some of the very specific things that let us connect the processes in the different areas. And then the second part of integration, which hopefully you saw this morning, you'll see again this afternoon, is really taking the power of everything that Microsoft represents and surfacing that together for our business users through Dynamics. This is the thing that really makes Microsoft unique. Starting from the power of Azure's global cloud, capabilities on top of that like Azure IoT and IoT Central that we'll see today, as well as Bing, Office 365, LinkedIn. And these are the things that no other business app provider has. And so it's really our opportunity and our responsibility to take all of that capability and bring it together. And hopefully you'll see that that's what we're doing in Dynamics 365. And finally, this ability to take AI technology and intelligence and spread it throughout the applications. We saw a number of examples this morning. We'll see some more this afternoon. This, again, is an area where I think it's just a place where Microsoft has unique DNA. Every business application vendor on the planet is out there talking today about machine learning and artificial intelligence. But here at Microsoft, we're working with the people that built Bing, that built Cortana, that enabled Skype to close caption a presentation or to translate a call in real time. We're dealing with world-class leaders in AI. Those are the people that are working with us to deliver the scenarios that you're starting to see come alive, and it's incredibly exciting. It's great value for our customers, and it's really one of the things that makes the Microsoft offerings in business applications just completely different. Okay, so we're going to take a walk around let's call it the circle of Dynamics 365, and drill into sort of what's new and what's exciting in each of the modern workloads as they come out next week in the October release. So let's start at the top with Dynamics 365 for marketing. There's some great new capability to let marketers recognize the highest priority leads, the ones that are most likely to close and most likely to be impactful so that they can focus their efforts. In addition, there's great capability to target specific content at those high impact leads and to manage libraries of content effectively so that you can actually reuse it across marketing campaigns. And all of this delivered on top of the common data service platform, so we get performance, we get scale, we get adaptability. If we succeed on the marketing side, then we generate the opportunity to sell, and there's some great new capabilities in the sales application. It starts with surfacing for the sales users, whether they're sales managers or field sellers or inside sellers, insights that they can use. So anywhere that they're using the product, if they see a person or a company, we have the ability to surface insights from LinkedIn so that they know more about that person that they're talking to. In addition, we're set up to sell the way people sell today. So based on techniques like relationship selling and leveraging signal we get from Office 365 to understand the health of a relationship. If I'm sending mail to a customer, are they actually reading it? Are they forwarding it? Are they opening the attachments? To also use signal from LinkedIn. So maybe if I'm not doing a great job reaching that customer, maybe there's somebody I worked with before that can help me get a better connection. And so we're built around that sort of modern approach to relationship selling. Huge focus on seller productivity. Part of that is people today frequently sell in teams. There's an expression of a pursuit team. And so there's great integration with Microsoft Teams so that that group can work together. And then there's also the ability to take successful sales processes and standardize them as something we call a playbook, and then trigger that playbook for a sales team when we recognize that we're in a situation that calls for it. Great work on continued refresh of the user experience and just making it simpler and easier and more streamlined across the product. And if we succeed in selling the customer, then we want to take care of them. And there's great advancements both on the customer service side as well as the field service side. You heard the CEO from Polaris this morning talk about the fact that they need to connect with their customers in new and different ways. And that's the core of what the Omnichannel Engagement Hub is about. So that lets a service agent interact with the customer, whether that customer wants to come in through chat, whether they want to come in through SMS. With the 365 Channel Integration API, that experience can be extended to connect to things like phone systems so that you can talk with a customer over a phone and bring that right into that same omni-channel service experience. We can listen to what the customers are telling us and actually use the AI technology to do analysis and sort of understand the sentiment and the intent of their feedback. And finally, we can deploy intelligent agents, and you'll see that in a few minutes, to help make the support process and experience more efficient for the people providing it and a better experience for the customer that's receiving it. And one of the things, we talk all the time about being cloud first. This is a key milestone because we're doing a refresh of the on-premises capability. A lot of our customer service centers still deploy with on-premise deployments, and so we're bringing all of these capabilities of new UI and new experience to the on-premises version this fall. And there's some great enhancements on the field service side, and we'll talk a little bit about those in a couple of minutes. We've enabled integration with IoT Central to make it easier to deploy and manage a suite of IoT sensors. There's great integration with finance and operations, so at the conclusion of a service work order, I can actually create sales orders for the appropriate services and parts, as well as some great enhancements in the schedule optimization, including a neat ability to do simulation. But rather than just continue to talk about it, please join me in welcoming Ryan Martin on stage. And Ryan's going to give us a demo and show us the new capabilities. Thanks a ton, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. So as Mike mentioned, we're actually going to walk through the fall capabilities. We're going to show you that for marketing, sales, customer service, and field service. So first of all, let's start with marketing, because that's typically where the process is going to start throughout the customer. So what we're looking at here is Dynamics 365 for marketing, and we're actually looking at the event calendar, a new feature. Remember, this event calendar is also available for the sales organization. So it's a one-stop shop for everyone in the organization to go through and see what either the overall company is doing or perhaps what a local subsidiary is doing in terms of all of the events that are going on. And one of the fundamental changes that we're introducing within marketing is the ability to do account-based marketing. So of course, if you've been using this application, you've been marketing towards the context. And you still do that, and you still use them in the segment definition. But instead of just getting the insights of how is this individual contact performing, you start to open up and you start to be able to see how are we impacting the particular account that we're working at. What's our mind share? How are they positive? What decision makers are actually viewing our content? So in this particular example here, what we've actually done is said, okay, let's look for all accounts that are above an annual revenue of 100,000, and let's make sure that they're also based for the campaign that we're running at this particular account in the region US. So what would happen after you find the segmentation? You typically, if we're going to be doing email marketing, want to generate a template that you're going to send out. A new feature that's also been introduced is content blocks, reusable content blocks in the application. So this 3D printer block is an example of one that can be consumed by anyone who's actually generating an email within here. In this case, it's quite a simple block. It's obviously a picture of the image that we're trying to portray in the template. So if I go into the email designer, I'm going to create a template from blank. And what I'll do, which we see with the fall capabilities, is actually have the ability here to select those content blocks, drag and drop them, and then say, hey, let's insert the 3D printer block content that we have, controlling the quality and the visuals of the layout of the templates and the emails that we're sending to our customers throughout the organization. So once we start marketing to these people, it transitions into sales. And many different things can actually happen here. In this particular example, we're using Dynamics 365 for sales, and we're introducing playbooks. So imagine I'm working on a particular deal, and my key decision maker has left. What do I do next? What am I supposed to do in this organization? Well, we can introduce a playbook for that particular scenario and guide the sales representative through the step-by-step process of how we hope to improve the situation. So I've already launched this playbook, so actually return to the opportunity and open up the playbook that we've launched here. And what we'll see, or at least what we should see, there we go, is that we have this playbook, and there's a series of activities that we actually ask the representative to follow. And they are in the timeline, of course, so we're going to call the decision maker, we're going to send all the related documents, and we're going to discuss our current proposal. But there's more going on in the background here, because we're actually tracking the completed activities in that process. Now, this is great for somebody who's also been in the organization a long time, but think about new hires. They'll immediately be guided by a business process on how to handle the opportunity, as well as a playbook for exceptions that happen within the organization and that opportunity is selling. Now, going further in the process, one of the features which we did showcase slightly this morning was the ability to integrate Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Teams. So earlier we showed that you could have conversations in the context of the opportunity, and you can have files. But if you have access to Dynamics 365, you can actually be working directly in Teams to update your opportunity while you're collaborating with people in the organization. And if necessary, this was already pinned, but you could select a new record or an additional record from Dynamics to be pinned directly in the Microsoft Teams channel. So again, in the context of this discussion, you can actually have these records available to you. So what we also showcased this morning, and I won't repeat that again, but is the introduction of Dynamics 365 AI for sales. But it doesn't stop there. What we are also introducing, and I'm proud to showcase that, is Dynamics 365 AI for customer service. So let's take an example of a customer service manager who's actually monitoring the performance of the customer care department. And one of the things they actually noticed is that we're seeing a spike in the incoming cases that has been taking place in the last 7 days. And one of the emergent topics is actually this reset of the SchoolBuddy 1000. So we really want to drill in and find out why is this taking place. So as we drill through this particular information, we could see the topic details. Now if I scroll down here, what we'll actually see is that the live agent, Tier 1, is receiving a lot of cases, and a lot of them are going to the unresolved category. And at this moment, we're actually not doing anything with a virtual agent. So as a customer service manager in a no-code environment, we have the ability here to automate this process and free up the time of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 live agents. So as I go to automate this particular topic, it's going to allow me to create a set of trigger phases. In this case, it says, for example, how do I reset my SchoolBuddy? Or I could add additional trigger phases. So let's go ahead and edit the conversation that this virtual agent is going to take place. Fast forwarding slightly, I'll show you a completed trigger phase that we have here. And what we'll actually be able to do is see that when that comes in, it's going to ask a particular question about what the model is. So jumping into the customer experience here, let's go to the portal and actually say, okay, I want to ask a question because I'm having an issue. So I'm actually going to type in here, how do I reset my SchoolBuddy 1000? And what you'll see is that the virtual agent immediately provides a response here. Again, all done by that customer service manager in a no-code environment. And if we jump back to the view of what's been going on since we introduced that virtual agent, what you're able to see is that a number of the cases are going there. Most of them have gone to the resolved area, and we've freed up significant amount of time of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 agents to actually take the actions on the complex issues that they can solve for the customer as well. So, with that actually being said, let's jump into, Let's jump into the next area, which is the combination of Azure IoT, Dynamics 365 for field service. First of all, here we've set up a number of devices that are available in the field. Let's actually take a look at this Northwind Printer IoT sensor. And what we're able to see are all the measurements that are out in the field. Again, in a very templatized way, people are able to add these devices that are being shipped out to the field and receive the measurements from the sensors that are included within those devices. And on this particular IoT sensor, something happens if the device exceeds 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And let's take a look at what that actually is. So we go into the rules of this particular sensor, and we'll see the rule that's been defined for the exceeding temperature of 80 degrees. And as I actually select that rule, what's most important here is that it's a flow. It's not code, it's not complex to create, it's something very easy through a flow that you can actually build. So as I jump into that, we see that the rule is defined here. We see that it will create a new record in Dynamics, and what we're also able to do is show the advanced options, and just like that, dynamically add content into the message that's creating an IoT alert in Dynamics 365. Now this is a great example for an IoT alert or a case, but it can be used in any broad spectrum of items that you would think throughout the entire Dynamics 365 application. So what actually happens when an IoT alert comes into an organization is we typically will dispatch a technician to go out and perform preventive maintenance and a repair. So again, one of the latest capabilities we've actually been offering here is something called resource scheduling optimization, which we've had in past versions, but we've introduced a what-if analysis. We can actually run optimizations on all of the open workload and see what the best output is of which technician should go there, which cost savings we should be looking at. So as I would actually run this particular optimization, also something new to Dynamics in this case, at least I've never seen it before, we can run a simulation instead of just committing it immediately with the actions that we're doing. And what would that output be? Well, it would actually be a number of bookings that are created that are optimized based on the requests that have come in and actually fine-tuning and working on the cost of that organization. So with all of that being said, we've kind of walked through a spectrum of highlights with the fall capabilities. I'll thank you for your time and hand it back to Mike. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ryan. So let's take a look at what we just saw. So incredible set of new capabilities, starting, as we said, on the marketing side, being able to target the high impact opportunities, prepare and create events and content for them, through the sales process, the ability to coach, as well as to deploy playbooks. On the service side, the ability to have smart virtual agents, but really the cool thing was the ability to add intelligence to that scenario without needing data scientists, without needing developers, as well as the enhancements on the scheduling side. So a very cool set of new capabilities across all of these scenarios. Let's take a look at the sort of the next step around the dynamic circle. And in order to do that, I'd like to welcome on stage Mohammed Alam, who's the General Manager for Dynamics 365 for Finance, Operations, and Retail. Please welcome Mohammed. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. So I'm excited to be here to share some of the investments we've made in finance and operations that will be landing with our October update. We obviously won't be able to cover the breadth of investments we've made over the course of the last semester and year. That's probably going to take more than 75 minutes. But we'll go through a couple of key investments across.
They're here. Go right ahead.
Across each of the three major application areas. The three application areas being finance, which for us is a robust set of capabilities around accounts receivable, accounts payable, fixed assets, bank management, and cash management. The second area being operations, which will cover supply chain management, manufacturing, discrete process lean, as well as warehouse management and transportation. And the third area being retail. We'll start with finance being the first area, which I'm sure is probably one of the most exciting areas for the CFOs and the finance department folks in the audience, which I don't think we're going to do a show of hands for at least our sake, not your sake. The key capabilities in finance that I'll mention is the dual currency reporting. So for our global customers that operate in, or customers that operate in more than one country, we now have the ability to have a second currency, a full second accounting currency in the application that'll capture all transactions, all financial transactions, for you to be able to report off of that natively within the application. So it's a huge efficiency for our global customers from a financial accounting perspective. The second set of investments are a set of announcements that we made where we've acquired rights to IP from our top ISV solutions that were most in use by our customers, not just in finance and operations, i.e. our cloud service, as well as our but also our on-prem products of AX 2012 and AX 2009s. The two key capabilities that we've brought in is the revenue recognition solution from our partner Armanino, as well as the enterprise credit management solution from our partner Sable 37. Both of these solutions, which our customers had to pay for in today's world to leverage in the application, will now be natively available in the core finance and operations service for our customers at really no additional charge, starting over the next few months when we kind of light this up in our online version. So we're super excited about bringing core capabilities that used to be gaps in our applications, but then making that natively available for all our customers at no additional charge in the application. Moving on to the operations side, which again covers supply chain management, manufacturing, warehouse management, and transportation. Similar to the finance area, here we've kind of brought in two core ISV solutions, again, through acquiring the rights to IP solution into the core service, into the core finance and operations service. These two solutions being advanced warehouse management and advanced transportation management from our ISV partner Blue Horseshoe, as well as rounding out our process manufacturing solution with catch rate capabilities from our partner Fullscope. Again, both of these capabilities will be natively built into finance and operations. They are built on finance and operations now, but will be natively available to all our customers in their subscription over the course of the next few months as we bake it into the core service of the application. The second area in operations that we're really excited about is the out-of-the-box integration between customers who use Dynamics 365 for field service and Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. With the out-of-the-box integration between these two applications now, Dynamics 365 for finance and operations can act as your inventory master and your transaction master for inventory transactions, while the field service application is able to leverage that through this out-of-the-box integration.
Yeah, one of the customers I'm working with is taking advantage of that, and so the technicians on the truck can get parts out of storage, but that's coming out of inventory that's on the finance and operations side, and so all the replenishment, all of the invoice and payment logic that was already there for those parts inventories is just automatic. So it's a great simplification for them.
Outside of these application investments or feature investments that we've made in finance and the operations space, we've also made significant investment in the application lifecycle management, the ALM experiences for finance and operations, which we obviously surface through lifecycle services. The improvements that we've made in lifecycle services are really all geared towards providing more visibility to you as a customer in terms of how the service is running, as well as more control in terms of actions that you can execute, both to optimize the application, to tune the application, as well as take remediation or corrective actions as well in case you see something that's happening that isn't in line with what you would expect.
Yeah, that stuff is incredibly powerful. I get to work with, shall we say, some of our more interesting deployments. And there's a lot of the things that the customer used to have to call us, call support to get help with, that they can now actually have visibility of on their own, and they can actually see and diagnose and in many cases resolve on their own. So it's all through LCS, super powerful stuff.
Yeah. We've made that available. Obviously, we run and manage all those functions for you, but for customers that are both willing and capable in being able to do those things themselves, we've kind of made that available as a self-service application, as a self-service set of tools in lifecycle services for them. And as you can imagine, these set of capabilities were one of our most requested features from our AX 2012 customers, because they're obviously used to managing the environment in-house with their own staff. Speaking of AX 2012 customers and our AX 2009 customers, i.e. our legacy on-prem customers, I'm really also excited to announce that we've made the automated data upgrade tools for our AX 2009 R2 and R3 customers generally available as well as an enhanced data migration tool for our customers coming from AX 2009. So we're really paving the way for those customers to move up and leverage the value that we're packing into Dynamics 365 for finance and operations in an as efficient and low-cost manner as possible. Moving on to the retail side, I'm going to start with the two that I'm going to pick here is the Cloud Scale Unit, and then I'll come back to distributed order management. So we're really excited about the Cloud Scale Unit that allows us to be able to provide dedicated and automated scale units to the various channels that customers have available, particularly in retail scenarios as well, to provide that sort of performance and scale in a highly reliable manner for their either store operations or any other channels that they may have hooked into their retail operations. That's becoming generally available here with our October release. And then coming back to distributed order management, which we also affectionately call DOM, which I'm going to give credit to Mike, which was Mike's brainstorm, which I'm sure he's itching to talk about as well, really takes the application to a level of intelligence, which is kind of what our customers expect of us as Microsoft, which essentially DOM allows you to do is source and fulfill your orders with a single view of your inventory, your stores, your channels, your fulfillment options, with configurable rules that you can set up that are more important to you as an organization to both fulfill those orders in a cost-effective way or in an expedient way, again, to get better customer satisfaction or reduce your cost. This service we're making generally available in October. However, it's been in preview for a while, and we actually have customers that are live using this in their production environments and getting significant cost benefit in their supply chain side of operations with leveraging distributed order management. And with this, I'm going to invite Kevin Horlock onto the stage, and we're actually going to walk you through an end-to-end example on how distributed order management works in a retail scenario as well. So I'm going to leave you with Mike and Kevin to walk you through the demo.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah, thanks.
That's great. Thank you. So I'm going to try and take us through a retail consumer scenario. And as I'm going through the journey of a consumer, I'm going to call out a number of the new features that we have in our full release. So think of me as a sales associate in Houston, and I have a customer that's just walked into our store, and it's a lady called Karen. And Karen is looking for a shirt for her husband. She's found the style she likes, but she can't find the size. So she's come to me as a sales associate, and we're going to together locate and see if we have any stock in the back room or anywhere else in our store network. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring forward the catalog, and together we're kind of confirming it is one of the casual shirts. And on the actual shirt itself, I can see the broader detail, and I can now dive in and explore what variants are available. And she's after a particular style, which is the big style in size 36. And unfortunately, in Houston, I don't have any stock here. But I can offer to explore other stores. And by clicking in and going to show all locations, I can expand the list and show every store that we have and see what stock we have of that particular style and size. Now, we can see we do have stock in Atlantic City through to Troy and Seattle, which is great. So as a sales associate, I can offer the opportunity to create an order for her and get it shipped directly from one of those stores to her home. She accepts this, which is great news, so I can come back and I can add this to the cart and I can confirm what the sizes she likes, what style she was after, and then I can click Add Item. Now, as I'm going through this process, I'm engaging with this customer, Karen, and I'm asking some questions as we would do, and I'm saying, you know, well, have you ever bought goods from us before? And she confirms she has, which means there is an account for her. So we can identify her in a number of different ways. I've asked her name is Karen, so I'm going to use that as a way of locating her. And I can see her name, her record comes up. And as her record comes up, I can see, Karen, you're living in Kirkland. That's handy, because Kirkland's actually quite close to one of our stores called at Seattle. I can see she's got a loyalty card with us. I can see her recent purchases, what recommendations we have for, and that's fantastic. We can engage, we can keep the upsell scenarios building. Now, by adding her to the transaction, immediately I can see there's a discount applied. Now, we'll come back to the discounts in a little while because that's an important new feature for us and how we're dealing with those. But I can engage with her and ask, have you actually checked your loyalty card balance lately? And she confirms she hasn't. Now, this is where I'm now starting to explore one of the new functional areas that we have within our retail offering. Because I can now go across and I can look at her loyalty balance and I can call up her card. And immediately I can see she has enough points to cover the purchase of this particular shirt. But I can actually now go further than that. I can actually delve into her rewards card and see, you know, the actual breakdown of what points she's got. So I can actually tell from here that she's got 30 days left to spend 1,500 points, which is the equivalent of, say, $150. So an opportunity has arisen for us, and our engagement continues, and we'll explore it from a point of view of what else could we use those points towards, rather than losing those points. So she's been interested in a watch before, so we can bring forward our watches from the catalog. We may have it in the store as well to explore. And I can add this to her cart. And this is one of those items that we can actually have additional upsell items with it as well. So I could include some additional batteries. I could also perhaps extend the warranty if it's appropriate. Both of these items now exist against her cart, which is super. And she's taken some discounts because of her loyalty status. Now, as an individual, we can go through the motions of shipping these goods to her. Now, what does that actually kind of relate to? If I kind of think about it from a bit of a back office perspective, I'm just going to pause a moment and just digress a little bit, because I mentioned about the discounts. And this is an area that we have enhanced as well. So historically, when we were configuring our promotions, you would have had to have defined every variation, or every variant, sorry, for a category that we have. So in my context, I have some casual shirts here, and I have actually one exclusion item, which is a regular shirt. So I can exclude it, which is what I'm highlighting here with my cursor. Historically, I would have had to have listed all the variants out there for me. But from the full release, we don't. We are now working in a far more productive sense for a merchandiser. And whilst I'm here, I want to just kind of call out a couple of extra usability points that we have. The usability of how finance and operations has improved immensely from the full release. We have enhanced how you can edit, for instance, some of the fields on screen. I don't have to necessarily go up to the top in the ribbon and click edit to get to a field and edit. I can now go straight to some of my fields and edit straight away. I've also changed the coloring of the ribbon at the top, because we were finding from usability studies that our users were thinking of it as just a title bar and then forgetting that there was actually actions and processes that they need to follow within the ribbon area. So by simply changing the color, we've made our software far more usable. So coming back to my story here for a moment and the journey that we're on, we've got to consider the area of how we've taken Karen's order in our Houston store and how do we service that from a back office perspective. So Mohammed was highlighting our new functionality around the distributed order management, and this is our workspace for it. And there's in effect 3 aspects really that we need to kind of draw your attention towards. An order that is taken at a store, such as Houston, is in effect going to be come in as an unprocessed order. So an individual that is managing the orders is going to be monitoring this area. And what we're actually going to have happen is we're going to basically go through the motion of looking at an order. So we can see here for a moment we've got the shirt, we've got the watch that Karen was interested in. And at the moment, it would have been serviced from Houston. Now, we all know we don't have stock at Houston for the shirt, etc. But by applying some rules to that, we can actually take it a step further and we can determine how is the best way of servicing her order. And these are rules that can be defined. So I've got some examples here of, do we always take certain products from a particular store? Or is it a case that, we have to consider distance into the equation? Or is it a case that when we are taking stock from a particular store, do we ensure that there is some reserve stock remaining at that store for that store to continue trading? So these sort of rules are the ones that we would take into consideration when deciding what is the best way of servicing Karen's order. The outcome is in effect a fulfillment plan. And the fulfillment plan is in effect reflecting what would have been the case and what will be the case. And the screen is actually split into 2 parts. So the top half, where my cursor is at the moment, is highlighting, this would have been serviced by Houston, but as we've highlighted, there is no stock there. But now we can see towards the bottom, we're actually going to service it via Seattle. And Karen, if you recall, she actually lives in Kirkland, which is actually quite a short distance away from Seattle. So that's perfect. So that's really efficient use of our stock in our store environment. So then when we think about Seattle as a store, there will be a sales associate that will come in perhaps the next morning, and at the next morning they're going to get a notification, and their notification is going to say, wow, we've got some goods that we need to ship from this particular store. And they'll go in and they'll see the detail for Karen and her order, and then they can pick and they can pack and they can ship and meet Karen's deadline.
Thank you so much. So we're incredibly excited about this distributed order management capability. Just look quickly at sort of what we saw. You saw people in a retail headquarters that defined the rules that they wanted to use to decide where things should be shipped from. They decided on discounts and promotions. We had a point of sale experience in Houston where we were able to give a great experience working with the customer, but also having visibility of inventory not just for our store, but across all of our stores. As well as access into the loyalty system in order to have a better experience with that customer. Distributed order management looked at the rules, looked at where all the inventory was, and really enabled this retailer to take advantage of not just their warehouses, for example, that might be in the middle of the country, but all of their stores, which are likely the places that are in cities close to where the customers are, and find the best place to go fulfill the order from and deliver it, as well as the new experience in the store to drive pick, pack, and ship, either for, in this case, a distributed order management order or a buy online, pick up in store order. So we've really kind of done a lot of work, not just to provide the intelligence of distributed order management, and again, done by business users defining rules in business terms, like distance or minimum stock, not actually building the complex constraint model that's sort of behind the curtain, and then completing the omni-channel experience that we need to make all these things happen in the stores. Now, if you look in the up on the other corner of the map, the retailer does have a store in Boston that has absolutely nothing to do with this scenario, but I did want to take the opportunity to recognize that they did win the American League East one more time. So I was hoping that I was going to be able to say they'd clinched home field through the playoffs, but maybe tomorrow's talk. Okay, let's take a look at the last sort of stop on the dynamics circle with the newest part of that circle, and join me in welcoming Laurel Reitman on stage to tell us about Dynamics 365 for Talent. Thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. Mike, it's great to be here today. I think as Mike mentioned, Dynamics 365 for Talent is one of the newest members of our family within Dynamics 365. And what we aim to do is really help address that people part of the digital feedback loop. One of the biggest challenges that companies face today is not having enough skilled applicants or talent within their organization. And they have disconnected experiences where managers, recruiters, candidates, everyone's working in their own silos. And this results in both slower time to hire, as well as a really poor candidate experience. And so with Dynamics 365 for Talent, what we've created is a set of applications to help create connected people experiences, to help companies find, hire, onboard, and engage candidates and employees. And as Mike mentioned, it's the newest part of the family. It's about a year old. And in the October release, we've really deepened the set of capabilities across our application. So I'm delighted to talk about 4 key areas of investment that we've made in the October release. The first in the area of finding and hiring talented people. And if anyone attended the keynote earlier today with James, you would have seen a glimpse of what we've done with the LinkedIn integration. With this integration, it allows recruiters and sourcers who spend their time in LinkedIn to see the history of those capabilities and interactions from Attract on the LinkedIn side, easily export those candidates from LinkedIn into Dynamics 365 for Talent. And then for hiring managers, recruiters, and others who are living within the Attract application to have that same visibility into the experience. In addition, we've delivered a whole host of capabilities to really deepen the hiring experience. For those who may have seen Talent about a year ago, we had a lightweight hiring manager experience. Now, full hiring workflow, highly customizable and configurable. Now, a second key pillar for us, particularly as I talked about with people experiences, is collaboration. And with this, we've introduced talent pools, which allow you to manage a set of applicants and prospects, whether they're relevant for a specific job or industry, or across your company. Now, one thing that's been really fun working on this product and working at Microsoft is our ability to use this application for ourselves. As you might imagine, Microsoft hires a ton of people every year. And so we've deployed Dynamics 365 for Talent Attract as part of our hiring experience with our interviewers and interview schedulers. And we've been collaborating with Microsoft's hiring HR department and IT teams to co-develop an offer management capability that Lydia will demo a little bit later. A third area where we've worked on with collaboration, and really important from a hiring perspective, is the onboard experience. And while within Microsoft we've seen a ton of viral adoption within hiring managers for onboard, what's important as you move to departments is to really have a little bit more control over that activities within that experience, which would allow a department to take the onboarding activities from the best hiring managers and deliver them across the entire organization. And so with managed activities, that's now available for departments. Now, since we've got a developer audience here at Ignite, the third area of innovation for us has been about extensibility. And we're so excited to have the Dynamics 365 for Talent applications with Attract, Onboard, and Core HR now integrated with the Common Data Service for Apps. This allows us to use Power Apps for extensibility or customization, since every organization may have slightly different workflow and processes around their hiring and employee experiences. To use Power BI for reporting and getting insights into those workflows and applications, and then Flow for connected experience. Now we're going to see a couple demos of that with Lydia as well to see how you can make that hiring experience your own. And the fourth area, which has been a theme throughout the conference, is around intelligence. And we saw these briefly demonstrated earlier this morning in the keynote, but we'll go into a next level of depth with relevant candidates, which helps hiring managers and recruiters surface candidates who are a really good fit for the job, helping you find that needle in the haystack, as well as suggested contacts, so you can help those hiring new hires come up to speed quickly. So I'm going to invite Lydia Williams up to the stage. We're going to be able to do a demo now of Dynamics 365 for Talent and hit on some of these new October capabilities.
Perfect. Thanks, Laurel. Great, so we thought we could go through the hiring process like we did this morning, but call out some more of the specific areas that are new that we didn't necessarily cover in the session.
Exactly, there's so many capabilities, we barely got to touch on them in this morning's demo.
Perfect, so let's start at the very beginning. And the first thing we can see, which is brand new now as a hiring manager, is a landing page when I first come into Talent. So I have one place to go, and when I come in, it's going to show me all of the information that's relevant for my upcoming interviews, for upcoming meetings. Let me know who I'm meeting and the roles that they're going to be considered for, but also show me any other tasks that have been assigned with other applications.
Well, this is super, because now all the information you need to know about what's going on for your hiring processes is in one place.
Exactly, and we're making Dynamics 365 for Talent the hub for coming into one place to access that information. The next thing if we want to talk about is, if we're now back in LinkedIn Recruiter, a little bit more about how that works. So as I said this morning for anyone who saw the demo, if I'm a recruiter and I'm using a LinkedIn Recruiter license to interact with potential candidates, once I use the LinkedIn Recruiter search, I'm then presented with that candidate, and I can see their full record, but I can take it one step further. So the first thing I can see is, when was this candidate last exported out of LinkedIn Recruiter into Dynamics 365 for Talent as a candidate, and which role was that for? So that's giving me an understanding of when we last interacted with them. The next thing I can do is I can then come in and export that candidate directly out of LinkedIn Recruiter to Talent. And if I've been interacting with them via InMail and I have their consent, I can then really easily push that out to Talent. And what will actually happen is it will push them into a talent pool.
Well, this is great, because if you think about within a hiring organization, sometimes you're looking for talent when you don't have a particular job in mind, but you want to make sure that you have that pool of candidates ready. So as soon as that vacancy becomes available, you've got a whole host of folks to bring in for an interview loop.
Exactly, so we've tightened that loop up so I'm not responsible for keeping that as a separate pool. I can push them straight from LinkedIn Recruiter. If we jump back into LinkedIn Recruiter, we can then see again, where they've been pushed and which specific IDs they've been allocated against. And then I can start to see those job statuses to understand which jobs have they applied for, and specifically which stages did they get to.
Well, because oftentimes you've got great candidates in the interview process, but they may just not be a right fit for that particular job, too senior or too junior, but it doesn't mean they're not a good culture fit for the organization.
Exactly, and that then ties into specific notes about why they may or may not have been a match for those specific roles, and also any interview feedback as well. And we have an example just like that here. He might not have been overqualified or underqualified for that specific role, so we still want to keep him in the loop in our talent pool. So by putting that direct integration with LinkedIn Recruiter and being qualified with LinkedIn Recruiter System Connect, it means we've got really tight integration now, which is just really strengthening the communication between the recruiter and the hiring manager.
Excellent.
So the next thing we want to do, if we now jump back into here, if we jump into a specific job, I can see all the jobs that I have access to already, but now, as we were talking before, we've introduced some intelligence, which means if we're receiving high volumes of applications, it's now going to use machine learning, look at those skills, compare them to the skills that each candidate has identified in their resume, so that it's easier for me to identify those standout candidates.
Well, and I think that's really important, because oftentimes, particularly we experience this at Microsoft, you can get hundreds of applications for a particular job. And so having that intelligence to help you identify maybe who to focus on or where to start with first will help accelerate the time for a hiring manager to get that vacancy filled.
Absolutely, because we're ultimately trying to reduce our time to hire. So we'd like to start with the candidates who are most likely to be the strongest match. So if we now jump into a candidate record, the first thing, actually I wanted to show something else. What I want to show before we jump into a candidate is that hiring process. So as we've seen previously, I can set up my job description, I can set up my hiring team, but we've opened up the hiring process even more. And now with the extensibility, I've been able to include in here, as an example, a Power App. So I've chosen to include a Power App that's going to help me identify which are the best questions to ask from a cultural fit. And it's really easy to come in, pop in my ID, choose who it's appropriate for. Is it appropriate for external candidates, internal candidates, or all of them? And then establish whether we can then start adding participants in.
Well, and I think what we find talking with our customers is everyone's got a slightly different take on the hiring process from a configuration perspective, or what it means to be a good hire for their organization. So the customizability and extensibility we get with Power Apps is really going to allow customers to tailor it to their workflows, their experiences, and make sure that they're bringing the right people into their organization.
And I think there's an endless number of examples there, aren't there? That's a simple example with interview questions, but it could be add different stages in, it could be adding different forms of feedback in, and I think it's really just opened up the opportunities within our interview process. So we'll see in a second now, if we jump into a candidate record, what that then looks like. So I have Cameron's record here, and I can come through, and as we saw previously, I can see that LinkedIn profile, I can see his resume, but as we see here now, in my interview stage, that Power App is built directly into the screen. And I've created this simply to give me some guidance. What are the questions that we want to ask? And then to have the ability to record some notes directly within the Power App during the hiring process.
Well, this is great. It really keeps that streamlined and consolidated hiring process, but with the flexibility and extensibility of the Power Platform underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next stage, again, is having the ability to come in and schedule my interviews, still considering that candidate availability and sharing those out with all of my hiring team and essentially automating that process.
Excellent.
And that's a tool that we use in Microsoft. I think that was one of our own personal challenges, was interview scheduling was completely manual, really large teams of vendors, and just a really ineffective way for them to schedule. And now, having introduced this across Microsoft, we've helped them to be able to effectively identify the best time to schedule those interviews without having to manually search through calendars.
Well, and we've been able to do the same with interview feedback, where before at Microsoft, everyone had to be on their computer on the corporate network, and so it really reduced the amount of high quality, timely feedback that we got. And so having that as a mobile responsive experience means that anyone on their mobile device both get access to the information about their candidate before they bring them into interview, but also that they're able to quickly provide that feedback, making sure we get them through the process as quickly as possible.
Definitely. So I can then come in, I could fill that in on here, I could fill it in on my mobile device, but I'm going to be able to see all of the information that I need to understand about the role, see their resume, see their candidate profile as I'm recording that feedback. Again, bringing back this concept of all the information I need is in one place. I don't have to go to Outlook to find the resume. I don't have to go to LinkedIn to see their profile. It's just all on one screen. So the next thing we want to talk about is then offer management. And this is an area where we, again, have been really heavily investing, so making it much easier to significantly improve this process. Do you want to talk a little bit about how Microsoft will be using it?
Well, I think what's been great is Microsoft went out and looked at the industry for an offer management tool, and there just wasn't anything that really met the need. And so we've been working really closely with the Microsoft IT and HR organizations to co-develop this new offer management tool that we'll be rolling out within Microsoft. And I think before we had these tools in place, it was like 16 steps and 20 approvals in order to get an offer out, which, again, once you've got the right candidate in mind, you want to get that offer out to them quickly to make sure that they sign. And so by having templates and configuration and rules in place, it allows everyone with confidence to know that the right offers are going out to the right candidates, speeding that time to hire and the quality of the experience for the candidate as well.
Definitely. So I can pull in my key fields, but also now have the flexibility to add in additional fields that might be specifically relevant for this role, and then template that across the solution as well to make sure that every time we're generating an offer, it's ultimately that much faster and can get out to the candidate to accept it electronically as soon as possible. So the final step we wanted to talk about now was onboarding. And I think there's two key areas here there for my hiring process. The first is that just as with Attract, I can now embed my Power Apps. So I've got an example here where I choose my laptop. I'm a new hire in the organization. Depending on my role, I can work my way through and choose it. And that will ultimately trigger a flow to send off the request to the right department to order it.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't all get Polaris SSDs as part of our hiring process, but a laptop doesn't hurt that.
Yeah, I would like a laptop on my first day. So putting this in my onboarding guide makes that much easier. And again, just another example of a Power App that I embedded really simply, entered my ID, and it's immediately available for me to use. So that was the first section, and the second thing we wanted to call out was suggested contacts. So I can come in and start to suggest individuals, and that communicates with Office 365 to get their full details. But take that one step further and actually look at my habits and patterns, figure out who I'm interacting with regularly, so that the members of my new team are then building connections with the right individuals before they join on day one.
Well, excellent. So we've taken you through a number of the new key innovations that we have in the Dynamics 365 for Talent October release. And so we've been able to see the integration with LinkedIn to help you pull in from that really fabulous talent pool into Dynamics 365 for Talent, using machine learning to identify the strongest candidates, optimizing the interview scheduling through Office 365, really driving a lot of efficiency there, being able to quickly make those compelling offers so that you get the right talent into your organization, and leveraging people and extensibility to make sure that hiring in the hiring process doesn't just stop at the hiring, the end of the offer, but when that employee is onboarded into the organization. So thank you, Lydia, for showcasing Dynamics 365 for Talent.
Thanks. Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Lydia. Okay, so we've covered most of the October 18 release, but wait, there's more. There's a few more pieces we want to talk about really quickly. We've got a great new update to Dynamics 365 Business Central. So this is our all-in-one product. And because it shares a common code base with Dynamics NAV, we're very excited to talk about it's a cloud-first product, but for the first time we've got on-prem availability. And so our NAV on-prem customers have the ability now to upgrade to Business Central and get all access to the very, very new capabilities that are there. There's new localizations for Mexico, for Iceland, for Norway. And then kind of the most interesting new capability is a hybrid deployment. So that if somebody has NAV deployed on-prem and they upgrade to Business Central, they get a cloud tenant as well. They have the opportunity to reflect their data from the on-prem system into the cloud, and then start to take advantage of the new cloud capabilities, like, for example, embedded Power BI. And as they work through moving the things that they've done in NAV that have to be done differently for the cloud, they get a scorecard that effectively tells them when they're cloud ready. And when they get to green on that scorecard, they can flip the switch and move from on-prem to cloud. So it's a great new set of capabilities for that base. But more importantly, it's a huge help in how they drive their transformation process from on-prem to cloud. You saw earlier today the mixed reality products that are being brought out with Dynamics 365. So you saw the remote assist feature. There's also a very cool feature called layout that if you're designing, for example, a new plant or a new store, and you want to visualize where things would be with particular displays or equipment, you can actually see that through the HoloLens. And everybody does a much better job of sort of, if I can see it, I can understand whether it works, whether the flow is right, et cetera. So these are very cool capabilities. It's the kind of innovation only Microsoft can do. And the fact that you're actually seeing it not just put in general availability, but also connected with Dynamics. So if you saw the demo this morning, he was able to see the field service work order right in the HoloLens display. So really excited about the mixed reality capabilities. We talked about the new Dynamics 365 AI. So for example, AI for sales will be in general availability in October, as well as previews for the customer service AI that Ryan showed us, as well as the marketing insights. So again, taking advantage of some of that differentiated technology from Microsoft as part of an integrated Dynamics solution. The last part in our process is always this idea of saying, okay, I've got these things that I want to act on that require something unique for my business. We saw Ryan get up here and build some cool apps. I just want to put in a plug to go at 4 o'clock and see the Power Apps and Power BI session. They're going to show you what's new and what's exciting in the October release there. So we've taken a trip around the circle of dynamics and what's coming in October. I hope you agree with me. It's a great release with a whole set of exciting new capabilities. I want to spend just 1 minute and talk about kind of what's coming after that. So as we look to the future, I think the first thing that you should understand is that we're going to continue this motion of sort of big news in April and in October with regular monthly updates to the services in between. And we've done a ton of engineering so that those new updates can be more seamless, that we can minimize service downtime while updates are going on, and then we also have some very sophisticated sort of safe deployment techniques that allow us to push things out in rings, measure that they're effective with telemetry before we expose it to the next group of people and the next group of people. So we're investing a ton in order to make this continuous update rhythm effective for our partners and for our customers. We will continue to improve the early visibility. So that release note document that I talked about for the October release, we shared that for the first time in July. And we'll continue to make those documents available early to customers and to partners, as well as to start making early versions of bits available in sandbox environments. And we're headed to a world where we really want to be in a place that all of our customers are running on a single version that's continuously updated, with us providing a lot of that management and automation behind the updating. We've seen this happen with other Microsoft products, and getting to this sort of one best version model gives a great experience to the customers and really helps us be most efficient from a support and quality and innovation point of view. We know how hard this is in a world of business apps, but we're doing the investment to make that happen. I've talked about the release notes a lot. It's 250 pages of quiet bedtime reading, but you can find it at aka.ms/businessappsrelease-notes. We will always have the latest version there. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I would definitely say go get the document, download it, read it, and get into all the details of everything that's coming. And have fun with next week's release. Thank you very much.